It's me, Nimso. Welcome back to another VR video. Today we are back in Project TX. Well, at least the makings of Project TX, kind of behind the scenes stuff. We are, for the first time in a video properly, in a proper video, I'm looking through a Quest 2 connected on Link, even though this build will be compatible with PC and Quest when it's built. That's for a reason, and you will have figured that out pretty quickly as well before I actually use it. But right now, today's video, we are looking at something a little bit more advanced than my usual stuff. It's a new system. It's a new system that replaces an old one. And what I've been doing recently is I've been rearranging a lot of my code. A lot of my old code. Kind of the entire Hybrid Presence engine. I'm calling it Hybrid Presence engine now, because system doesn't really cover what it does. It does everything from tracking to the body physics to the body posing, the elbow IK. It's not really IK, but it's IK. It's inverse kinematic, at a logical level. It does all of that stuff, the whole gameplay mechanics and everything, and it's all modular. And that's the new sort of layout is completely modular. It works really, really well. What we're looking at today, though, is what you've been looking at this whole time as well, which is the new hand posing system. This is something I'm calling the fluid hand pose system. You will have, my words have just completely died there. You will have played a game called Bone Lab recently, in the past year. Or you may have at least seen it if you're a VR enthusiast. And in that game, one of the new systems they'd kind of built was the idea of avatars that you can retarget your natural body to match the avatar's sort of structure, to try and keep the avatars with their own natural structure rather than retargeting them to make them shaped like you. So for example, here with my regular physics hands, I could switch to longer arms, and you can see that they kind of match my same, my natural arm. When my arm is at full extension, my arm is at full extension in the game, even if it's longer. So here we go, regular hand, and now for the longer one, and it's matching that, right? So same thing as you would see in that game, and it's full physics, right? So there we go. But I thought I wanted to take that idea, and I wanted to do it for something that you wouldn't really expect to do it for. Hand posing. So the finger posing that you're seeing here, let's go back to a regular hand so it matches mine. The finger posing that you're seeing here is not built in the way that normal finger posing systems are built, where you have data specifically, oh no. Let's, give me a sec, sorry about that. What happens when you tap the controllers? I'll show you that in a bit. When you have each finger, in regular hand pose system, you have each finger as actual data points inside the system, and they kind of pull in. You kind of set your finger to a certain pose, and you apply that to your character model. In this system, I'm not really doing that. It's a little bit more complex in terms of data. I call this the fluid hand pose system. And the reason being that I'm not storing specific finger pose data, rather it's just sort of a blend right across the board. And it doesn't actually care how many fingers you have, which is very, very unusual. In fact, it doesn't even care how many segments you have either. So here you've got 1, 2, 3, you've got 3 segments on each finger, but it doesn't actually care about that. That stuff is not part of the system. It doesn't have dedicated finger data for each of the fingers, right? Which means you can take these regular poses. So here's my regular poses. There's only 4 poses in my entire system, right? Which is open hand, grip trigger, index trigger, and then both triggers, right? That's all of the poses, right? And of course, then there's the touch sensor data that comes in and adapts to that. And adapt is it's the word of the day today, right? A word of the night, evening. It's past 12. It's morning. But there we go. So what this means is because it doesn't care how many fingers I have on the hand, it just has the same poses. I can switch to different hands. So here we go. So now I've got 3 fingers and a thumb on each hand. And these poses are the same 4 poses that I was using just now. It's the same data, literally the same data. It's all just coming in and applying to the character model. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, okay, well, that's very simple. You've got 3 fingers. You can just cut one out and only use the data from one of them. Only use the data from one of them. Only use the data from 3 of them instead of all 4. That's not what's actually happening. You can see here, each finger has a different pose, right? Which makes sense because you only have 3, you already have 4 fingers worth of data. But if I were to go to a higher fidelity hand compared to a regular hand, now I've got 5 fingers plus a thumb. And each one is posed independently, right? Which is absolutely crazy. The point being that it completely adapts your regular hand pose data into the into whatever hand you want, right? Which is absolutely insane. It's so nice. It's so nice when you've actually got it running. And these really like it gives you a feeling of actually using a different hand. It'll be even better in a moment. In fact, I've gone and extended this beyond just the fingers. You can actually have an extra thumb, and again, the data is separate. So here we go, I've got 2 thumbs, and as you can see, they do not move at exactly the same point, right? So here we go, we've got this data here. You can see that although my controls, I actually control them directly like that, and you can see how they're kind of completely separate. They're separate things. You see that? It's so cool. It's so awkward. You can have any number of fingers. You can have an infinite number of fingers if you want, and multiple thumbs. And I will adapt the system as well to control how many thumbs are actually how the thumbs control. Right? It's gonna be even cooler. And that it gets really cool because what that means is now you can have your avatars that are adaptable, right? Where you kind of adapt your avatar to the physical body structures, and you can even adapt the hand pose system to match. Now I've got a little bit more detail coming from the hand pose system. And that is, the first thing is really cool. Is that actually tracking properly? Right, it doesn't track perfectly because the physics rate is not matched. I'll just make sure that the physics rate is matching already. It's probably the recording that's causing a little bit of difference. But what is added to this? I've actually gone a little step further than what you're looking at already. I've been trying to make the hand pose system a little bit more flexible, a little bit more natural, right? So you'll notice obviously that the finger poses themselves, they're really quite nice, right? They work really nicely and they kind of do what I want them to do, which is open up completely or just naturally close to the amount that you want, right? But there's more going on. It's actually, if you have a look at this finger, for example, you'll see that it's kind of tilted downwards. You can see in my video that my finger is not touching the sensor. Here's what happens if I touch the sensor. So my finger's not touching the sensor and it's kind of pointed downwards. But if I was to stretch the wrist here, whoop, you can see that it's actually stretching the finger out as well. And that's what's going on, which means that when you're naturally kind of moving your hand around, you get this natural look over here, right, with your hands curling quite a bit. And if you push them out, you can see that they actually stretch your hands out, right? There's a little bit of natural feeling to that. It's really nice. It feels great to actually see that. Now there's even more going on than that. I wanted the hands to never have a weird static pose look to them. Even some of the highest quality games, like for example Half-Life Alyx, they still have very static poses when you have a pose, right? When you have a hand pose, it just kind of stays a little bit static. Otherwise it feels like it's trying to do some weird animation, right? Which I've seen it plenty of times in plenty of games, right? But I decided I'd add something that you would call Microstutter, right? Where the fingers actually do that little bit of mechanical movement that you see in your real hands when they are held. So I'm not actually doing anything with the triggers here. And if you look very carefully, you will see that finger did it just then. There's a little bit of microstutter happening on the fingers every now and then. There you go, you can see it just there, right? They are very, very slightly twitching and moving every now and then. It's just a mechanical twitch that happens. If you were to hold your hand straight, and you would every now and then you just see that your motors, as soon as you activate even the minute amount of force in them, you'll see a little, it'll suddenly switch, and you can see the motors of your fingers just kind of activating. And this is something that I've added to this, and I'll just try and show you as closely as possible. You can kind of see it on both hands here. There, you can see it on each hand. Just having this little twitchiness. It's very, very slight. When you turn it sideways, obviously it's a little bit more obvious. There we go. You can see it. And it's happening on the thumb as well. It's very, very slight. And you're not supposed to notice it when you're playing, but it just gives a tiny little detail to the hands. Something that you just didn't expect. But this system gets even more awesome. Ignore all the little twitchy stuff. Ignore all the little hand posing logic of coming from controllers. This stuff is really, really cool when you throw the controllers away. Throw them, and it fell right on the floor, right? I thought I'd hit the bed there. One of them hit the bed, but there we go. Right, I'm gonna have to wait for them to disable now. Oh, I messed up the video. But there we go, right? So they will switch off, unless of course one of them's triggering. Hey, where are you? Come here. Right, I'm gonna redo that bit, yeah? I'm gonna read that. Imagine that never happened, right? So this is I messed up. Right, okay. We'll redo that bit, right? Imagine you look into my eyes, It never happened. Right, you forgot. Okay. This system gets even more cooler when you throw your controllers away. Throw them away. Boom. And now, see, it worked better. Now, I've got hand tracking. Ooh. Now, why is that cool? It's really flipping cool because the hand tracking comes in, right? The hand tracking comes in. I convert the hand tracking data that comes in, the rotations and everything, into my new system. Which means now I can control each finger using hand tracking, and it then gets adapted into the new hand pose system. It gets adapted into whatever hand I want. Oh, things get really cool. But of course I have to reach over there first, so I'm going to switch over to my other Locomotion system, and we'll walk over to here, and look at this. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right, I'll switch off the Loco for a second. Go close to the... Oh, looks like I switched it on instead. I'll go close to the camera, and you can see here, with just the one finger, I can control each of these naturally, right? It's just completely natural. And this is the pinky finger, so I'm not just cutting out that center finger, right? If I were to go and extend this with the high fidelity hand, and it's really cool because the physics is also affected by this, right? So there we go. You can actually, it's really nice. But now you can see that each finger poses separately to all the others, right? It's really, really cool. This is incredible because it feels like this is my actual hand. It does actually feel now like I'm controlling 5 fingers and a thumb. And you can see here, when I point, it still points with that one finger, right? Obviously, every now and then it kind of flips it out because it's tracking a little bit separate. But there we go. It's one finger, right? It just looks right. Look at this. It just looks incredible. And of course, it gets even more awkward when you've got a thumb, right? An extra thumb. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, the hand tracking's pretty good on this thing. But there we go. Now I've got an extra thumb, and it just works. It just works so flipping. Look at this thing, right? I've got complete control over each finger, and I've got this extra thumb, right? It's really, it feels like it's my hand. It feels like it's my hand. Oh, it's incredible. Right, let's start walking over here. Dude, activate. What's with my menu button today? Right, there we go. And now it gets even cooler because now, even with my extra fingers, I can adapt not just to the extra hand structure, but to the long arm structure as well. And this is with hand tracking, right? This is with hand tracking. I'm able to walk around, right, naturally in my game world space, right? It's all completely natural. There we go, right? Complete walking around. And of course, these are physics hands as well, which means if I step right up, there we go. I have full hand tracking, controlling now, and I can climb around using my full physics body, right? It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to switch away. Sorry, I'm going to have to walk away from you for a moment just to get over here once more. I'm going to keep my long arms and I will walk over here. We will have something a little bit less awkward than the double thumb. And we'll walk over here, and now we'll walk over here. Sorry, I'm just going to run for a moment, and then I'll talk to you directly. But there we go. You've got this actual hand now that is using hand tracking. And of course, we were not using hand tracking before. We switched to it live by throwing the controllers twice, unfortunately, because I had to go and mess up first. But there we go. Now, if I just try not to burn my fingers on the light bulb, I can actually climb right up on here. And there we go. Full physics, full hands, all just works. It's absolutely beautiful. It is incredible. I could switch off the loco system, get my hand over here and find the other controller. And there we go. We are now back into the regular system, ready to play games. Really, really nice. It's flipping beautiful. It is beautiful. That is this video. I hope you have enjoyed my absolutely insane ramblings. It is actually a little bit cooler, actually. Let me just throw the controllers once more. Right? And yeah, we can also see the little physics colliders on the thing going on as well. So there we go. We can little hook bit over here, and then you can turn your hand over, and there we go. It's absolutely beautiful, right? So normal hand obviously cannot hook, right? But the little hooky hand, there we go, right? And then you climb over and boo-yah. It is absolutely beautiful, right? There we go. So now we'll just pick up the controllers one more time, right? And there we go. Just switch to this system. Now, none of this uses the meta systems, right? This is all OpenXR. This is all using the generic OpenXR system, which means if your headset supports OpenXR and can do hand tracking, it can work with this. If it doesn't support hand tracking, it doesn't need to. Your controllers will work just fine. And all of this is just adaptive. It all just works. And I mean actually just works. This is why I don't do cuts in my videos, to really show you that things just work, with the exception of me throwing my controllers, having them land on the floor and then trying once more. But it just works otherwise, right? It is absolutely beautiful. I am really enjoying working in VR once more. But there we go. On a quick note, I want to mention financial situation is always a problem. So if you're willing to support me, if you'd like to support me, please have a look at my Patreon. I am going to be increasing the amount of stuff that I put there. And by increasing, I mean more than 0. I am going to be putting some more devlog stuff there, actual rewards. And I'll be trying to get... I'm going to be trying to get an actual demo here. Look, this thing is now super stable, minus the falling of the controller. Everything is super stable now. The hands, the physics, the arms, everything's super duper stable. It can switch between the different systems that I wanted to be able to switch from and to. The Locomotion can just switch. Everything's properly integrated. It is absolutely beautiful. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you are willing to wait another week or two for the next video. There is going to be so much more. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.